right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboy fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face. Oh, from Brooklyn. Hey, get any?
This is Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Northeast Streaming Sports Platform. This is the Northeast Streaming Sports at Night with your host, Sonja Pearson. I have the absolute pleasure tonight of being joined by not one, but two co-hosts. I have CJ the Painkiller, who's only going to be with us for just a tad because he did not get a chance to follow up with a question he wanted to ask last night in our show. And of course, my favorite Philly sports, the Philly sports guy, Pags. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Doing great.
Doing well,
That's
thank
good.
you.
Very good. Thank you for joining me tonight. So, CJ, you said you had a couple of questions you wanted to ask me before the show ended last night. I did not get a chance to talk with you about that. So let's go ahead with that.
All right. Well, I'm going to pose a very interesting question to the both of you. That actually kind of works out. The Pags is here as well. Now, you guys know I'm a New York Jets fan. So, and obviously for the Giants fans as well, although Mac would probably never admit to this or not. But even though their coaching situations are somewhat solid, I don't want to say they're very solid because I understand Wink Martindale was relieved of defensive coordinator duties today. So let's say in a vacuum, John Mara on one side, you got Woody Johnson on the other. And you take a look at the who's who of coaches that are currently unemployed and coaches who could potentially be unemployed in the coming days, weeks, or whatever, depending on who you talk to and depending on what side of the bed the owner wakes up on. So the question that I have is now I want to ask both the Jets and the Giants point of view, and especially in relation to one Bill Belichick. All right. Now, Bill Belichick at one time said that the New York Giants was his dream coaching job. So think about it, where Belichick kind of got his start in New York under Bill Parcells, was defensive coordinator there for quite some time. Now, if you're John Mara, do you even though you seem to be happy with Brian Daboll, you're letting Brian Daboll kind of chart his own course and have his own guys and so on, or whatever, as far as the coaching staff is concerned. But in that little piece, if you're John Mara, and you know that Bill Belichick is out there, do you pick up that phone and just entertain the idea? Just pick up the phone and kind of gauge his interest?
I would think you definitely, at a minimum, would do a phone call, especially with the history. Pags, you're a Northeasterner. You're probably a little more familiar with it than I am, especially with that being in the same division. But I do know Belichick has that connection. And notwithstanding the fact that he's been interviewing in the South a little bit, I think it at least would warrant a phone call. What do you think, Pags?
Honestly, if you're the Jets, you don't. I don't think you would because you've already been there once before, and he lasted a whole day and says, nope, I quit. So I don't know that I'd go back to that well. For the Giants, maybe, but, how do you fire a coach of the year the previous year, even after them having a down year? So it's like, I don't know that. I mean, I guess you could make the call, then be like, okay, it's sorry, Dable, hit the road. I'm coming, I'm going a different way now. I don't know. That seems like so haphazard of a franchise to do that I don't expect that they would.
It was it was a very interesting question that was kind of asked a couple of days ago on the Michael Kay show by Don LaGreca. And I was actually very intrigued by a lot of his responses, and especially according to the New York Jets, because apparently Bill Belichick doesn't hate the New York Jets organization as much as people have been told, or even what in fact was revealed on the two bills. It turns out that the reason why Belichick turned down the New York Jets job was because Bill Parcells was going to stay as president of football operations. And Belichick did not want to work under Parcells any longer. He wanted his own spot. He wanted to chart his own course. And then on top of it, to make matters worse, Robert Kraft and the Patriots had actually faxed a request to interview Bill Belichick for their head coaching position. Parcells got a hold of it, threw it in the garbage, and did not bother to say anything to Bill Belichick that Robert Kraft was getting an offer, or Robert Kraft was was asking permission, so to speak with him. So initially, the original word why Bill Belichick hated the Jets was he did not like the Johnson family. He did not like Woody Johnson at all. And it actually does not, believe it or not, there is actually zero truth to that. The only reason why Bill Parcells left the only reason why Bill Belichick left the head coaching job of the New York Jets was because he no longer wanted to work under Parcells. So now here's the interesting caveat to that. Knowing that information, if you're Woody Johnson, do you pick up that phone and make the call? Now, mind you, the reason why I pose this as a very interesting scenario for Woody Johnson is because you're looking at an owner who is desperate to win a championship. He is desperate to bring a championship to Florham Park, to the city of New York, to give the New York Jets fans a Super Bowl championship, finally once and for all time. So now, what's interesting is, even though you've already committed to Robert Saleh, you've already committed to Joe Douglas, you've already committed to running it back by allowing Joe Douglas to fix whatever it is he needs to fix on this roster, bringing in a 40-year-old quarterback coming off of Achilles surgery. So, to me, I find it a very, very interesting a very, very interesting scenario within a vacuum where I think you at least call to gauge interest, even if he tells you no and hangs up the phone. What do you think? Am I off base here or what?
I thought.
Why would he hang up the phone? He's looking for a job.
Listen, he hang up the phone just because it's the Johnsons. Like, it'd be like, do I really want to come to your train wreck? No.
And some of our viewers, good evening, everyone coming on. MJ Johnson, Enrique Alvarez. Enrique said he wants full control, and the Giants are not going to allow that. So, again, that would definitely be something to consider.
What if they did? What if Mara comes in and he calls Bill and he says, look, you have complete control over everything. Tell me what you want. What is it?
Not only am I going to fire my coach, I'm going to fire my GM, and we're going to give you full control. I tell you,
that would be a radical move.
It would be a radical move, and I that would make that franchise look ridiculous if it didn't win a championship that year.
Yeah, I agree. I have to agree with that.
So now the Jets doing that, putting that on the same platform, the Jets doing that actually doesn't sound as ridiculous because the ridiculousness has already been done.
Yep.
Yeah, they got the quarterback that they want. So it may be exactly what the doctor ordered. However, do you see him going to another AFC East team?
No, honestly, I don't think so.
And that's what I said. That's what I see with that. I just don't. I don't see that occurring.
So okay. So that was the question that I wanted to ask last night. And I really would have loved to get Jimmy Jeffcoat's opinion, Mac's opinion. I'm glad I got your opinion tonight and Sonja's opinion. I would have loved to have gotten Keith's opinion because I'm sure he's probably like already all scorched earth that, Bill left, but he didn't seem too broken up about the fact that Bill had 1 foot out the door anyhow. So I think he's quite happy with the Gerard Mayo hiring as head coach, and basically there's going to be a new page turning within the New England Patriots organization. So
I think
Speaking
if
of
he
the
doesn't
Jets,
get
though, I'm sorry. Just while
no,
I got you here, because I didn't get a chance to ask you a question or two either. Is it really like next year, like AFC Championship or bust?
yeah, I
Is
believe
it
so. I believe so. And here's my rationale for it. Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh at their end of the year press conferences stood up and took their lumps, which I was very proud of the fact that they did, because most coaches and most general managers would have blamed it all on bad luck and would have said there was nothing wrong with our system or the way that we did it. Joe Douglas stood up there and owned it. He owned not handling the backup quarterback situation properly. He owned not getting enough offensive linemen in there. I mean, the Jets started 12 different offensive linemen last year. They had 13 different offensive line combinations. So, yes, you had an attrition, but you also had a coaching issue as well, because the New York Jets also led the league in offensive line penalties, such as holding, false starts, neutral zone infractions, etc. So, or ineligible man downfield. Okay, they led the NFL in all of those categories. If you are going to consider yourself a playoff team, you cannot have those mistakes. Now, a lot of that is coaching, a lot of that is personnel. You could point the finger at either one, and you probably would be correct in either or. But I honestly believe that they are all in for next year. And if they do not make the playoffs and make a deep run, they blow it up. Because I don't see anything less than an AFC Championship appearance or even a Super Bowl appearance. Lord Jesus Christ, I hope. Being anything less for Woody Johnson to come down from on high and say, okay, I've seen enough.
So Enrique is saying that Atlanta will take Bill. We know that there's been some talk amongst some rumblings, including some heavy hitters that are saying he's just waiting to work out the final details and to restore relationships that he previously had with some of the staff that are in Atlanta. And then Enrico also goes on, and you're welcome for the shout out, to ask your take on McCarthy returning to Dallas. Is Dak out? So the way that had gone on, and CJ, just bear with me. We'll come right back to your question, Enrique. Give us one moment. Let me give CJ this continued platform for a moment. Go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, so that's basically, I think I pretty much said everything that I could say in regards to the question that I wanted to ask. Ax's question about the New York Jets. Are they all in for next year? I believe they have to be. I believe that anything less than a playoff appearance, anything less than an AFC Championship appearance would again be considered a failure. And Woody Johnson would have no choice but to blow it up, because you maybe only have Aaron Rodgers for 1, maybe 2 years. The only contingency plan that I could see with them running it back again for 2025 would be if the Jets made it to the AFC Championship game and maybe they lost on a last-second field goal or lost in overtime. That would be the only way that I could. Or if this team made the Super Bowl and they lost in the Super Bowl under similar conditions.
And is that your take on just the Jets and the Giants only? Are those the only two teams you're considering?
Yeah, those were the only two teams that I was considering, because it posed a very, very interesting question. The reason being is because both the Jets and the Giants, their coaching situation is pretty much set as far as their head coach. Now, with the Giants letting go of Wink Martindale, they'll end up having another defensive coordinator in a couple of weeks or so, depending on who Dable is gonna anoint with the holy water. But as far as the Jets are concerned, really the only upgrade that needed to be done was the offensive line. Nate Hackett's not going anywhere, despite everyone's dismay. But Nate Hackett being there with Aaron Rodgers and a healthy Aaron Rodgers next year, who knows what the Jets offense could look like. But the offensive line still needs to be addressed. You still need one or two more skill position players. You still need a couple of linebackers to help out CJ Mosley. You have a lot of free agents that are on expiring contracts, so you need to make a lot of difficult decisions. And everybody who leaves, you have to patch another hole. So the question is, A, do you have enough cap space? And B, are you willing to gamble with draft picks in order to bring free agents here for an all-in run?
Okay. Well,
stay tuned for after he gets back from his dark nights, 3 dark nights, or you know what I mean. Let's see what happens. What the ayahuasca tells him this time.
So he's going to find Sasquatch.
Well, I hear he's down there. So
he is, probably is. All right. So Miss Sonja, thank you again for having me on tonight. Thank you again for allowing me to pop on the question. I want to thank the viewers out there for bearing with me. I know y'all wanted to listen to Miss Sonja talk. You didn't want to get it, the bonehead from the Bronx talk. But thank you. I appreciate all of you for giving me a few minutes.
No, CJ, always a pleasure. CJ will be back on with me next week, right, CJ?
Hell yeah.
All right. So I'll see you then. Thanks so much, CJ. Always a pleasure. Have a great night. I'll talk to you offline, brother.
You bet. Take care, folks.
Let's see.
All right, Pags, the Philly sports guy who we've been waiting on. Thanks, CJ, for dropping by us. I'm gonna be honest, Pags. I didn't know half the people that he was talking about, because how you guys are kind of like disconnected from the South. I'm a little bit disconnected from the North, unless they're doing really well, like Philadelphia is. And speaking of Philadelphia,
and I know them just because it is New York, and it's they've got a lot of holes on the offensive line. You know what I mean? That's really what it's coming down to. But that's a whole philosophy. It is a whole philosophy of things. You have to, the Eagles have that philosophy. The offensive line and the defensive line is where you win championships. That's how championships are built. When a team doesn't do that, they can get around that by having like a superior, play from a quarterback and a receiver, and a running back. They can get around that, but unfortunately, when it comes down to championships are usually won by defense and by the trenches. And ultimately, if you don't have the trenches figured out, you're going to ultimately fail.
Really,
and that's
really bad.
That has been part of the Jets' problem for years.
Yeah, I watched them on Hard Knocks, and it looked like they were trying to address a lot of that stuff. They had Sauce Gardner, and then, of course, they had the whole showdown with Aaron coming. And to be honest, I think with Aaron coming and subsequently getting injured, that took away a lot of the thunder that the Jets thought. I feel like, in my opinion, it would be better for them to just kind of go as they were, sans Aaron Rodgers, and then he comes in later on. I think the hype around him was so big that once he fell, it was just like they just could not overcome that.
Yeah, well, yes, because they put all the eggs in his basket. Mm-hmm. Their defense was good enough, but all the rest of the eggs were in his basket. And 4 plays in,
I just remember the first possession. I was like, wow, I was like rewinding the stream, like, did this just really happen? Like, this has got to be a bad joke. So we got a lot of viewers that's coming on. Thanks so much, Pags, for joining me. I'm excited about our sit down, our chat. I like to call our one-on-ones a chat here. It's, nothing formal. We just talk sports and have a good time. Looks like you got some friends in here. Enrique saying thanks for the shout out. He said Atlanta will take Belichick. We've already addressed that. MJ said thanks for the shout out. And looks like he has a question here for you. I'll show it. I think you can see it, but I'll show it for our audience. Pags, the Eagles need to bring in Frank W. or Cliff Kingsbury. Let me just tell you right now, Cliff Kingsbury is interviewing per ESPN with the Bears for OC today or tomorrow. That just came out this afternoon. So looks like he's still on the table for now, but he also talks about bringing Denard Wilson back as the DC because he proved Lurie and Roseman wrong. Look at what Denard has done with the Baltimore Ravens. So what are your thoughts on that, Pags?
Denard Wilson won't come back. He'll only go move up to become a head coach. No, say he won't take a lateral move now. Why would he? He's with a team that is potentially going to win the Super Bowl. So unless you're going to give him a head coaching position, he's not going to make a lateral move. Making the lateral move is like for teams like if you wanted to get the defensive coordinator, no offense, from Carolina, that may be a lateral move that a coordinator would be interested in. I don't see him going from a Super Bowl caliber team to something less than Super Bowl or a head coach. So
even if Baltimore doesn't go to the Super Bowl, you still would think the same thing. Say they get eliminated by the Texans this weekend.
Even if they were to get eliminated this weekend, why would he want to go somewhere else?
And it looks like that's what Enrique is agreeing with you. He said MJ Johnson. He's talking to MJ online. I bring Frank back. It was great having him. And Wilson, he's doing a phenomenal job down there in Baltimore. So thank you both for those comments. And good evening to Erlene. And MJ says, thanks, Sonja and Jamie. So you're welcome. Everyone share and continue to comment. We love comments. Pags, I've been waiting to get you on here one-on-one since the Philly game. I know you've probably talked ad nauseum about what happened, but I just got to get you on here, brother. You became a meme. So for you guys that don't know, please look up NFL memes on social media. Pags is there in despair. At the end, unfortunately, after spending all that good money to go down there and to Florida, Tampa Bay, I hope you at least had a good time except for the game. And Linda says hello. She just saw that the Eagles owner expects a plan for Sirianni to make the team better tomorrow morning. Wow. So yeah, you have it, Pags.
He's not meeting tomorrow morning. He's still out of the country. He'll be meeting sometime later this weekend. And yes, that he wants to hear a plan. He did the same thing with Peterson, Doug Peterson. What that means is that, like, hey, Doug Peterson came back in the meeting after going 6-10 at the time. It was the last year of 16 games, and said, hey, I want to run it back with these two guys. We'll be more in tune and have everything together. And Jeffrey Lurie was like, no, we're not going to do that. We are going to go a different direction. Thank you for the Super Bowl championship. We wish you the best of luck, but we're not going to run this back thinking that we're going to get a different result. So I believe that the same situation is going to occur with Nick Sirianni. He's going to hear what type of plan he's got. And if his plan is satisfactory, he's going to get a different another year. If the plan is not satisfactory, he's not going to get another year. And I don't know if that plan is going to be satisfactory to Jeffrey Lurie or not.
Wow. And thanks, CJ. CJ has already hopped off and says he's liked and shared it everywhere. So thank you, CJ, so much. We appreciate you. So, Pags, the NFC East. I caught a little bit of your show yesterday. You had a Cowboy fan on there. I don't know their names. And you had the Giants fan on there. It looked like it was an NFC East show.
Yep.
Very interesting commentary. I listened to it. I'm going to check it out again. I've seen you on there previously. Pags has a lot of good shows. Definitely educational for me getting into the whole NFC East, trying not to be, partisan just to my area. But tell me, I know this probably is going to sound like a crazy question. Tell me your exact feelings during the game from the very moment that the Eagles took the field up until it looked like it was kind of out of control? Just tell me from your bird's eye view, no pun intended, Eagles, just how it was being in that atmosphere.
All the way up to kickoff, I was somewhat confident. I thought that they would come out and show something different than they've shown the last 6 7 weeks. And I had, you know, the way that they came out of the tunnel, the way that it just everything occurred, I was like, okay, they got this. This is not going to be a problem. And then Tampa Bay goes down and they go down the field and they kick a field goal. And then we go, I think it was like 7 and out. We got a first down,
Mhm.
but wound up getting not moving very far and punting the ball away. And then Tampa went down and scored a touchdown. All right, it's 10-0. Next time we get the ball, we still punt it away. They come back down, and I think they kick a field goal. Now it's
Mhm.
13-0. Like, okay, they're stopping them. The defense is keeping them in this game. Once the offense gets to start to doing what they do best, which is I feel running the football, they'll
Right.
start to do this. You got Swift running at 5 yards a click. Why not run the football? That's what
Mhm.
we seem to do best. And they just didn't want to follow that game plan. It bothered me that they couldn't follow that game plan. And then we score the touchdown
In the second quarter. Mhm.
in the second quarter. So now it's, we got a field goal, we got on the board, and then we scored the touchdown.
Right.
So it's going to be 16-9, and we kick the extra point. It's 10. Oh, they're offsides. Let's go do the tush push.
Yep.
Now, I know when you look at it from the top down, he looks like he was way over the line. There shouldn't have been any question about it. My opinion. It happened right in front of me. You could tell that he scored it. But once the guy grabbed the helmet and pulled him back from the helmet, there should have been a flag. No
Yes.
flag called.
Yes.
No flag called.
And
But
at home, it
and
didn't look
then
like
and,
he got it. Mhm. To the
yeah,
viewers at
and then
home. But you were right there. Like, not only were you at the game, but you were literally right there on that front
right there
second
on
row,
that
that
side.
area. Right.
Right there on that side. And it looked like he had passed through. Obviously, there's no way of being able to tell because they can't see the ball when he's got it in between them. So can't tell if the nose of the ball gets over the line or not. Ultimately, like I said, when he got the helmet and started to pull backwards, there should have been a flag called on that. They didn't call the flag. End of story. We didn't make that extra point. So now we took a point off our board, and instead of it being a 6 point game or a 5 point game, now it's a 7 point game.
And then it went on from there. You guys never scored the entire second half. That
Yep.
was shocking to me because it was Tampa Bay. We have a comment. First of all, Linda said that they said that the general manager and Sirianni are searching for coordinators and offensive and coaches. And I did hear that they are looking for that. So we'll be definitely stay tuned for that. Thanks, producer Linda, for that information. But this comment by Enrique again. AJ Brown was missing, key weapon. And to be honest, when you were talking about Swift had been putting up at least decent yards all season. I don't know what happened to him. I was shocked. I had him in my fantasy. He got me a lot of points during the season. And then it just looked like I don't know if he was just overworked because they were putting so much pressure just on him. Like he was the carrier of every single gain at all. And the Eagles to me, when we start the beginning of the season, they looked formidable that okay, yeah, they're going back to the Super Bowl at a minimum, the NFC championship. And then we saw the losses, the back-to-back losses, and then the 5 out of 6, and then the 6 out of 7. And Tampa Bay was not even the better team, to be honest. They just played better. You have Baker coming in with injuries to his ankle and to his ribs. You have him coming from, to be honest, the bottom of the barrel of the entire NFL, the NFC South, where everybody barely got over 500 the entire season. And it was a crawl between them, New Orleans, and Atlanta to see who would even clinch the division. And some kind of way, they won that game. Now, I don't know if it was because they had home advantage, because I've heard it's very difficult to go into Tampa and play, or just the fact that Philadelphia just did not look themselves. Jalen Hurts looked defeated before he even really took a down, in my opinion. His whole facial expression was just different.
Uh, I mean, I can't really speak for that in terms of his facial expression. I didn't really get to see him that close. However, there is the whole team. I mean, that's why they made a meme of me. I looked defeated at the end. You know what I mean? It was like we were just defeated. There was nothing that we were going to be able to do. In the third quarter, I turned the guy who happened to be standing next to me, who actually came with me. He was a Raiders fan, Captain Jack, who's also a part of
Oh,
Northeast
Captain
Streaming
Jack was down
Sports.
there. Oh my gosh,
Captain
I
Jack was
know
with
him.
me, and I turned to him and I says, "They just don't have it. They just don't do this here." It's like he was trying to keep me pumped up there, but it was just like there's like I'm trying to do whatever we can. Like let's go, let's go. We got to have. There was no sense of urgency at all, and then there was no adjustments to the fact that they blitzed every play.
Yes, they
Every
never changed the
play they
plays up.
blitzed.
I was so shocked. Like, why are they running the same? Like, it just, I don't know. It's almost like, was this a deliberate loss? Like, I don't understand. They always talk about the NFL has politics. This cannot be the truth with this situation.
Well, I don't know that it's politics. You know what I mean? I did hear a rumor that I won't say because it's only a rumor. However, if that rumor has any bit of validity to it, it would be something that could break up a locker room in a
Oh
big
my
way.
gosh.
In a big way. So because the rumor on my side answers too many problems, like it answers the holes, fills in the holes too well for it not to be a possibility. It's like the easiest answer is sometimes the most, is the right one. Uh, that's kind of I'm beginning to feel more and more until I get full confirmation though. I'm not going to say anything about it,
Hmm.
but I feel like that
Well,
that was the problem, and it destroyed the locker room.
I will say this, and if it goes hand in hand with what you're saying, we just won't say it. We'll talk offline because we don't want to give any oxygen to any fire out there. But I will say what I heard on ESPN, where and I don't remember which announcer it was, that they interviewed Jalen Hurts after the game, and basically was like, "Hey, is Sirianni coming back?" And his response, or would you like to coach for Sirianni next year? Something to that effect. And Jalen was like, "Oh, he's going somewhere," but he never really specifically answered the question. And so there's been an issue. We all talk about it on the Sunday morning football show with Mac and Jack and Jim Jeffcoat, and they've all alluded to there's something going on off field with that organization. What that is, who knows? But I'm sure it will come out at some point, especially when you can continue to see a team of Philadelphia's caliber literally play lights off instead of lights out. They just were not there. They were not there. Let's see. We have another question up here for you, Pags. Now we know Julio is a ring chaser and got concussed during the game. Same old Julio, in my opinion. But there's the question for you. Why do you think they didn't try to incorporate Julio Jones, knowing there was no AJ Brown? And Julio did play until he got knocked out.
Yeah,
So
actually, he was getting a lot of targets, and then he got the head-on-head collision, and it's funny because it didn't knock him down either. He took the step, and then it was the referee that's like, "Hey," because he got. I guess he was a little woozy. He started to
yeah,
walk over to the Tampa Bay sideline, and then they had to bring him over to this way. So, I
yeah,
mean,
because Julio used to play with Tampa Bay, so he may have been confused and thought that was his team. He went from the Panthers to Tampa Bay to Tennessee, and then you guys got him. So he may have, and we hope Julio's feeling a lot better. That concussion thing is nothing to joke about. Um, yeah, he probably for a quick second just was disoriented as to where to go. There's another question up here for you. Or statement. They beat the Bucks in running game over 200 yards. Why not run it again? The same game plan, just like you were talking about, Pags. This game just reeked of in my opinion, common sense that was not executed.
Yeah, across the board. And then there was, I think, like the lack of, you know, they just had no interest in making sure they got stuff done. It was like they were fighting themselves. I said at some point this season, I thought that the Eagles could only beat themselves. Now,
I remember you saying that.
obviously the 49ers did beat them. So, and that was understandable because you could say, all right, 3 games, 13 days, gets a team that's 10 days out who had this circled on their calendar and says, and tried to win the NFC championship game in a regular season game a year later. Absolutely. That was the schedule makers not doing us any favors. And
Hmm.
we got beat and manhandled in that game. That being
Hmm.
said, uh, they were 10-1, and then after that, it never seemed right again. But there was also that as when I think things started to really occur. There was like, so the Dallas game again. That's our fourth game in 20 days. Dallas coming off of a 10-day break. They get the better of us, and then we lose that game. The following game is now 7 days. We all have 7 days off. Actually, we get flexed, so we get moved to an eighth day because it's now Monday Night Football that we're moving to because it was the first flexed game going to Seattle all the way across the country. And games that we were winning in the beginning of the season, we were not able to do that again at the end of the season. Drew Lock looks like Joe Montana in the last 2 weeks or last 2 minutes of the game. And next thing you know, Seattle wins that game. Come home, we beat the Giants, the first of three. And then we play Arizona, and it just, the defense couldn't stop anything. They just could not stop anything. And Arizona goes ahead and beats us. Another game that comes down to the wire.
Battle of the
And
Birds.
and they would have won. Games we won in the beginning of the season, we weren't able to win in the end of the season. And
There's
then
a
that's
couple
that
more.
ends.
Yeah, that definitely is unfortunate. A couple more comments in here. So Linda's saying, way to handle the board tonight. Hi, Mac. We're great for you. And hello to my sister, Lisa Walker. Love you, sis. She's coming in tonight. Someone has this comment for you, Pags. I'm going to be silent on this one.
Yes.
I figured as much. Even before it was typed up by Chad Creasy here, Crazy. When you said that, I literally was like, that sounds LeBronish from when he was in Cleveland and the whole situation with his
I don't know
mom.
anything about that. Because hey,
So,
listen, these guys are human beings just like everybody else. However, it's something that could break up a locker room.
yeah, well,
Pretty.
LeBron's mom supposedly was dating a teammate, and LeBron left Cleveland for that reason because, that's when he went down to Miami.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I can understand that.
yes.
Don't be
So,
dating my mom's. You
right,
know what I mean?
right. All right. So Enrique says if the Eagles want to win, I keep Gainwell and bring Derrick Henry. So let
You
me
want to keep Gainwell? Out of all the people to keep, you want to keep Gainwell? He
right.
had
And
the
then,
most horrible season.
yep,
He had a good game in
yep,
the Super Bowl last
yep.
year. Yeah, that's it.
And we've heard
And on
nothing.
that game, he was
Yes,
here all season long, stunk up the joint. I
yep.
feel like he was half the reason why we got the safety in the first place. You know what
And
I
don't
mean?
talk about Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is not the person he was. I don't know if he's just run down because of how the Titans have done him or what, but Derrick Henry has not been King Henry for at least a couple of seasons now. What are your thoughts on that? Because he's saying bring Derrick Henry in. And we know
Well,
the running
I
back
don't
shelf
mind
life is
bringing
not
Derrick
that
Henry
long.
in as a bruiser back, as a secondary back. He could,
Secondary, right.
yeah, I think you could still get 600-700 yards from him. I don't know that he wants to. He's 30 years old and still thinks he could run for 1,000 yards like he did this year. That being said, I think you could use him as the change of pace back. Somebody who's a bruiser back. You want to get that yard, 2 yards, that's who you send in there to go and bust it up there. You know, I would do that. I wouldn't mind that if he fell into the numbers properly. He'd have to know his
Mhm.
role. He'd have to be the second back. That's kind of what I'd be going after. Anything beyond that, I'm not really, I don't think he's going to come, and I don't think that it's, you know, anything short of getting maybe 8 carries a game, 10 carries a game. That's it.
So, all right. So, from your perspective, the NFC East, you guys all look good. Well, with the exception of one team, for a little
Really,
bit.
2 teams. 2 teams. The
Two
Giants
teams, yeah,
stunk. The
yeah.
Giants stunk all year, and,
Mhm.
and so did Washington. They stunk all year.
Well, yeah. Of course, my bad. I don't know how I forgot about Ron Rivera's Commanders, formerly Ron Rivera's Commanders. Um, yeah, but you guys were neck and neck for a while. What's going to happen in that division coming up? What changes do you see? First of all, in the Eagles organization, can you guys get back to the postseason next year? What has to happen, notwithstanding the whole locker room possibility? Is there a playing issue at all, or is this all personality?
I think that it's very possible that we get back there. There's been 19 years where not the same where the same team has not clinched the NFC East title in a row, 2 years in a row. So I feel that next year we're probably going to win the NFC East because I don't see the Giants catching back up yet. I don't see Washington doing it in their first year under new ownership for real. So I feel that it would still be between Dallas and the Eagles. And the Eagles got to make some changes. They absolutely have to do things differently if they want to run it back. But I think that they have a lot of the power to be able to do that. Now, my thought is that they're going to have to get rid of some of the headaches that created some of the headaches this year. You know what I mean? For the organization, headaches in the locker room that created the headaches for the organization. I feel like that there is going to be some unique trades that happen this year that are going to be done under the guise of, hey, we just wanted to help this guy out. You know,
Mhm.
really, it's more of, hey, we needed to get rid of this cancer in our locker room.
Right. And we had a question earlier that was kind of pertaining to that. Now, we saw earlier today that J.J. McCarthy is declaring for the NFL, but we're speaking of a different McCarthy here. We're talking about head coach McCarthy, who on yesterday it was solidified he will be returning for next year's head coaching. And so Enrique says, what is our take on McCarthy returning to Dallas? Is Dak out? I don't think so, but I will tell you this. If Jerry Jones really wants to win, he clearly has not addressed the issue because I don't see the Cowboys going as far as they did next season as they did this year, unless they've made a lot of changes with the sub coaching, maybe the coordinators. Dan Quinn, I think he's done his due diligence out there as long as he possibly could. And so maybe, they separate from him. What are your thoughts, Pags?
I'm glad they kept McCarthy. I think he stinks as a coach. That being said,
Because
I mean,
that's your
obviously
competition.
he had this team going together, so it's like they did win 12 wins. They did win the NFC East. They did lose to Green Bay in the first round. Not that I have room to talk because we lost to Tampa Bay in the first round. So between the two of those teams, they both beat us, and they neither one of them should have won the game. That being said, they did win the game. So that really tells you more about how the Cowboys looked at this playoff run. Probably looking past Green Bay.
Definitely look
And
past them. Never considered them. They were just on the schedule. Yep.
so, I mean, is Dak gone? Dak is not going to go unless he's got a place to go. Because I don't think that they're going to have the cap hit that they want to do just to drop him. And that means they'd have to figure out a trade. He's making a lot of money to get traded. And he still may be the MVP winner this year. Because it's only for the regular season.
Yeah, he's second runner
So
up.
it's hard to really say.
He did break a lot of records, but And they are basing that just off of the regular season. But then he's got to look at Lamar, and if Lamar ends up winning the Super Bowl, I think it's a no-brainer on that point because it'll be regular season plus postseason. There's a comment here. First of all, Enrique is saying Patricia's definitely gone for sure. MJ's talking about James Bradbury. So Bradbury, former Carolina Panthers, and I can't remember what team he went to up north, but we saw him miss 2 big tackles on Evans, I believe it was. They took him out, brought in, I think the guy's name's Corley or something, brought him in. And then next thing I know, Bradbury's back. And I don't know, like, is Bradbury going to continue to be with this team? Do you think that play from the Super Bowl messed him up mentally? And this year when Deebo Samuel made those comments. So there's been a lot of, we call it online beef, keyboard bullying, what have you, trash talk. I don't think it really weighed that much when you talk about playing the game. What are your thoughts, Pag?
Yeah, I don't think that was the issue. It would be very interesting to me if Bradbury wasn't in the mix of the rumor.
Mm-hmm.
That's I'll be honest with you. I feel like that again holds way too much credence. It's like I mean, I don't know. Again, that's the part of the problem with rumors is that it's like a fart. It stinks. You know what I mean? It just stinks. And you don't know for certain, and you can't go ahead and report on it. But when you hypothesize and you start thinking about different things, I say, that would affect his game because he played pretty well. He played pretty well last year. It's this year, he played. He was playing better, and then all of a sudden he stopped playing, and then it
And
was like very odd how he stopped it. So
yeah, and I definitely don't want to say anything because both of his parents are on my personal page because when he was with the Panthers. So if there's something that's specifically to him, I'm going to hit the mute button on myself because I never know if they're watching,
But not only that, and it's not a matter of that. I don't want to spread rumors, but if it seemed to me that he had something else on his mind. That it's
he did
like
look
he just
different.
didn't play. He didn't play to even half of the potential that he had last year.
Right.
And he made that money. We signed him in the offseason. It was and we all looked at it as a pretty good signing. And then for him to fall off like he did, I just feel like that maybe there was something human
It
going
seemed
on with him.
sudden. Right. It seemed very sudden. So just for a quick switch gears, CJ, who was with us earlier, has a question. I'm going to address that, and then we'll go back to the Eagles talk. CJ saying, do we think Antonio Pierce stays in Vegas? I think he does. The locker room is like they only want to play for him. No, they haven't had that much success, but he has at least at a minimum kind of high-spirited that locker room. But it will also depend on if Devontae Adams is actually still with Vegas or not. What are your thoughts on that, Pax?
No, I think he goes. I would go. I wouldn't stay in Vegas. I think Vegas is a mess. I think Vegas is always going to be a mess. I think that the mess is from the owner's barber on down. You know what I mean?
Oh, that bowl haircut is the worst.
It's like he's going for the Mo lookalike contest from the Three Stooges. You know what I
Mo
mean?
and
It's
Dumb
like,
and Dumber and Dumb and Dumber.
yeah. So it's like it's and of course he's got lots of money, and he feels like he's his father, and he can't hold his father's underwear. You know what I mean? He can't even do that. So I don't know that I would stay, especially if I'm
Yeah.
getting offers from real teams.
So where would he go then? Since TJ brought that up, there's about 7 teams right now that still need head coaches.
If I was him, I'd go. I'd go to LA. I'd go to
We
the
should come to
Chargers.
Carolina. God, we need like some type of fire for our team.
Yeah, I wish that I could give any multiple of reasons on why somebody would choose your team as a coaching destination. All I could tell you is that you are going to get a young, innovative coach who's got nothing to lose. That's who you're going to wind up there,
Yeah,
Carolina.
because Tepper's not
If
going to
you're
let him
any
finish
bit of
out a season.
if you're going to be able to fill, actually, if you're a real coach, you don't want to be there, not even a little bit. So
Oh
you're going to
God, that's
need
bad.
a new, innovative coach, and that person's going to need to sign like a 3-year, you can't fire me contract.
Yeah, yeah, literally, literally, because he's not even giving and like I always say on our other shows, Tepper literally leads the soccer team the same way he does the football team. He just uses money, doesn't know anything about management or what have you. Let me dial it back to so CJ did say bring Pierce to Carolina, give him 2 years and he'll straighten it out. And I honestly believe that. So thank you. And Stephanie Marie says, hello, Philly sports guy. You remember her from the 49ers chat. She's a diehard 49ers fan, and we grew up together. And she always comes on and talks. And we have CJ asking about Bradbury again. Do you think that the spectra of playing in Philly proved to be too much? We've seen athletes go to big markets and not live up to the contract they signed. Maybe it was too big of a city for him.
I don't think so. Again, like I said, this is where something is amiss, and I feel like it just makes too much sense if he's the one that was part of it. Like if he's in the middle of this somehow, some way. And I don't know this because I haven't heard anything on that. It's just a hypothesis. And like it says, I can understand humanism. You know what I mean? I understand these guys are human and that there are different things that occur in our lives that create problems in our workforce and our work life and such like that. That if you have something weighing on your mind, you aren't focused well enough on your job at hand. And I feel that he was doing fine all the way up until about week 9, week 10, week 11, like
Right.
right around that time, right around the time that things occurred, that may have happened or whatever. That's where. So I can't speak intelligently, but I do feel that in the last 6, 7 weeks of the season, he had a very, very bad, you know, 6, 7 weeks. He didn't have his head into the game the way I think he could or should. And that doesn't I feel like he's still got it. You know what I mean? I feel like he's still a good cornerback. I just think that he had something else going on that proved to be too much for him to be able to handle along with his duties on the field.
Yes, and they're actually talking about it like just everybody. LaShawn McCoy spoke in Sports Illustrated, had an article about the poor tackling of James Bradbury, and we know he has not been in the league a long time. Excuse me, a long time. He's only been with you guys since 2022, and I just wonder, is it time for you guys to move on from him?
That's such a tough one. I have to imagine that if by chance he is in the mix of everything, it would be best if he wasn't here. So for him, I would think that it might be worthwhile to move on. If it's if it's if the other part of the problem disappears, I think that would also help. So that it's if this is a psychological problem, which it may be, then like I said, he may be better suited elsewhere. Just getting a fresh start with somebody else because I think he's still got it. I think he still is able to play, and I bet you if he was to go somewhere else away from this situation, that it would work out for him.
Yeah, he signed a 3-year, $38 million contract with you all, which included a $7,985,000 signing bonus in 2023, and $20 million of it was guaranteed, basically. So with him coming in 2022, he should only have about a year left on his contract anyway.
Well, no, he
So
signed
I
it. He
guess,
signed that this year. So this
oh,
was
he
his
signed
first
that
year of
this
that 3-year
23.
contract.
Okay.
He's got 2 more to go. So I think
Wow.
he's going to be back for next year, or there's going to be a trade.
Yeah, and then we have a comment from Charo. Hello, Charo. Said, don't forget about Bayard.
Right. He's the safety. I think he'll be back next year just because they got him under contract.
Yeah, and then CJ is saying, we got this comment here. I don't know. I don't know if that's still real. I don't know if those two are related, CJ.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
I don't think
It's not. I'm not talking about him needing to go see a psychologist. I think that he was. I don't know. Like I said again. I'm talking. I'm talking out my rear end a little bit here. So I'm just hypothesizing on what it potentially could be. It just would make too much sense to me. If they came out and said this is what occurred, I'd be like, damn, I knew it.
And we've
You know what I
had,
mean?
we've had now, and let's be clear, mental health does matter. I totally believe in mental health. The biggest smiles are always hiding the deepest pain. That's kind of something I've always seen, and it really happens. It really happens. And so, whatever it is, because we've seen players check out from time to time, and the NFL is big on supporting that now. Whereas, back in a few years ago, they're like, no, everybody's macho, suck it up, blah blah blah. But whatever that is, it's got to be big. And we only have about a couple more minutes to talk, Pags. I really appreciate you. And thanks everyone for all your comments. You've really kept us going tonight. Pags, when you guys realized that the game was out of control, did you think like, okay, this is going to be head coaching Sirianni, it's on him, it's on the coordinators? What did you actually think? What will it really take for Philadelphia to work on besides the kind of obvious elephant in the room with the rumor that's going around? Is it a physicality issue that they can get back from?
Yeah, I think that they can. I think obviously you need to learn. This is a learning experience. This is one of those ones that hurts as a learning experience. You went from 10-1 to out in the first round of the playoffs in less than 2 months. So you better learn from this. You better figure it out. You bring in different coordinators. You bring in different things. It's going to be interesting to hear how he takes to this meeting with Jeffrey Lurie and what Jeffrey Lurie thinks. Because truth of the matter is that I'm a firm believer in you hire slow, you fire fast, and the Eagles have been very good at hiring coaches. Say what you will. They've gotten Andy Reid to start. They had Chip Kelly, who was innovative, didn't last very long. Doug Peterson, who brought them to a Super Bowl and won it. It's Nick Sirianni, who brought them to a Super Bowl and lost it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's so far their track record on coaches is good, and I'm going to trust that.
Yeah, there was a lot of hype about Sirianni still being possibly on the hot seat through at least this weekend until they saw what would happen. I think what's going to happen, honestly, Pags, if Tampa Bay loses the next game, which I'm thinking they will, I don't think the heat will be off of Sirianni. Now, if Tampa Bay wins and beats Detroit, then it looks like, okay, Tampa was really that good. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, they ain't going to beat Detroit. Detroit's going to. I think Detroit really has a strong chance against San Francisco. The fact they got to go play in San Francisco hurts it, but.
Yeah, but I'm saying just in general, the fact that Tampa is the team that you guys lost to.
Yeah, I don't think it matters. I think it does not matter if he's either going to remain with the team and be on the hot seat or leave the team because he's asked to step down.
But your coordinators are out of the door.
Yeah, I think they have to switch them up. I think Brian Johnson. It's possible Brian Johnson could remain. But there would have to be conversation saying, hey, we're going to let him run his offense.
I got you. Pags, tell us how to follow you. We got about a few seconds left. It's been a delight, brother, for you to come on. I appreciate you so much.
Go to any social media and go to The Philly Sports Guy, and you will see me. I am everywhere. Just look to NFL memes, and you'll see my face.
All right, Pags. Unhappy, y'all, and make sure you share it so Pags can get some monetization at some point. They did take your image, Pags, so somebody owes you some money, even though they took it from the network.
Yeah, I wish. I won't see a penny of that.
Thanks everybody for joining us tonight, Pags. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful night. I'll be back on tomorrow night at 7. Good night, everyone.
This is Northeast Streaming Sports.